Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inky Thoughts Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, one I've been looking forward to quite a bit. Very ironically, we're doing this in podcast form, and it's probably going to be advertised mostly over social media because that's what we're going to be talking about today. And funny enough, some of the perhaps demands to go a bit too far on social media these days. But before I jump too far into this topic, I'm going to let my guest, the lovely Delphine, where I'm sure I pronounced the name incorrectly,
Oh, you did
introduce
perfect.
yourself. Oh, thank you very much. But please, Delphine, introduce yourself.
So, thank you for having me. I'm Delphine Noiztoy. I've been tattooing for 18 years. I am currently 35 years old. So I started at 17 while I was still in France. And basically, I started as a self-taught because at the time, girls weren't really welcome in the industry, and it was really, really difficult to have an apprenticeship. And eventually, at 19 years old, I left with 2 luggages and €200 for the big London. So I ended up working in some crazy street shop, and we can get into that later. But yeah, I went from being nothing at all, not having an apprenticeship, to becoming a female strong influence, we'll say, in the industry. And then now I'm back in my country, in the south of France, kind of taking it easy now. But yeah, working way less than before for multiple reasons, but social media being one. So,
Yeah, that we'll get more into that. But first, I couldn't help but digress a bit because I thought for 1 second you were going to say the Big Apple because that's usually how we do it. But I mean, London is indeed big. I will agree to that. Having lived in
I,
England myself at one point.
I almost said the Big Apple, but then I was like, the Big Apple is New York. So I was like,
I mean, to make it more for any British viewers or listeners in the future, we could possibly call London the Big Pie. I mean,
the big pie, the big shepherd pie.
but it is funny because, and I digress here a bit, but I couldn't help notice you sort of went from the difficult way and then ended up with a very traditional route into tattooing from a lot of the old timers. Like
Yes.
if you'd said you were 60 something and you were a man, that would have been the exact expected route you would have taken, right?
Yes.
For guys back in that day. But sadly, that's not how it should have been in our age group for anybody going into tattooing. But that's how it sadly happens when there's gatekeeping, whether you're a woman or you're a person of color or
Oh,
queer or anything like that. As soon as the gates are up, so to speak, it becomes a little bit funny how you get into it.
it was really complicated, to be honest. And I I am very much of a old school person in the tattoo industry, and I'm very much of a gatekeeper now. When it's very funny because I didn't used to be at all. And I think, to be honest, I'm part of that generation who broke the
Mm,
industry, because I'm part of that generation who was like, hey, we've got MySpace and then
mm,
Facebook and then Instagram and all of this. And we were like, yeah, to the old guys, like, look, this is so good. We can like promote and touch people from further. I think I'm part of that generation who broke the industry. And
mm.
now I've become a full-on gatekeeper. So it's pretty funny how it goes full circle, you know?
I mean, to some extent, yes, but I think some of the stuff you talk about there with social media, that was very much well intended and actually did do something good for the industry to start with, the reaching out more and promoting visually what you do. It's some of the other stuff to get a bit into the video you posted that I very much agree with, where as you very poignantly said in that reel on Instagram, which funny enough also went sort of viral, ironically speaking.
Totally. It's at
Exactly.
1.3 million views now.
Exactly. But as you said in that, it's the expectation that you're now also an influencer.
Yes.
And I found that so poignant because now I'm not a tattoo artist myself, but I've been around the industry for many years since I was 18, and I've researched tattooing and tattoo artists through my academic degrees, and that spent a lot of time, around it. And I always found that a lot of tattoo artists, as many as there are that are a bit more extroverted, a lot of people that are very private and introverted also join this industry, and people that are all sorts of ways and part of the spectrum, not part of the spectrum, all that. So it is a lot to put on people, especially people that, like you also said, originally go into it to make art or to just do tattooing, you know? Like,
yeah, for me it's a bit weird because I never wanted to be a tattooer. It was never a goal of mine ever. So I was in advance in school, and my plan was to be an art restorator. And because of where I grew up in France, I grew up next to Lourdes, very Catholic background. I became obsessed with the Vatican. So I wanted to become an art restorator for the Vatican. We're very far from that now. And basically, I was very interested by body mod, and I was more in the body mod before the tattoo. So I got suspended, I got heavy body modification before I started tattooing. And then being around tattooers and stuff, one thing with another, I ended up being around a bunch of tattooers who were like, hey, you draw okay, you should probably try tattooing, which I was like, no, I don't care about tattooing, I want to paint. But I got very wasted one night, ended up having a tattoo machine in my hands, and gloriously the day after going to my dad and be like, Dad, I'm gonna be a tattooer. And my dad was like, yeah, right, finish your studies.
Didn't like the body mod, you're not doing this. Like,
oh no, but my parents didn't know anything. I was a very sly teen, you know. And yeah, not the best teen. I hope my kid is not gonna turn like me. I'm probably gonna get my karma pretty bad. So yeah, I ended up tattooing, and it was not really a choice at all. So I just kind of fell in love with it, and being on the spectrum, it became a specific interest, an obsession, and I had to do it. I had to know everything about it, and see where I am now.
But yeah, but I don't think that I don't think that at all takes away from the point you made in your video. And if you want to reiterate it now, but I'm sorry if I get any of it wrong, but I think you're very right that it's I think it's fine that people like, oh yeah, you post your tattoos, you talk about where you tattoo from or what style you do, you may introduce yourself, but this expectation that now you need to do funny videos, or you need to do sketches, or you need to like, fine if you want to do that, but it's the expectation that sort of happened around social media now for tattoo artists that I also have a problem with, because it is strange, because nobody really asked for it, and suddenly it just became a thing, because people very much, I think, it nowadays think in marketing ways. So they just go like, oh, it's demanding this of us, so now we do it, else we are going to fail. Yet, as a sociologist, I think if collectively tattoo artists have gone, no, we're just going to stick to what we're doing already, people can do that as well, but we're going to keep doing the other thing, then algorithms can also bend to the people that use it sometimes, you know?
Yes, I think the biggest problem is especially with Instagram, because let's be honest, like MySpace died, Facebook became this hellhole of a platform, and then Instagram initially was all fine. Where everything went wrong is when Facebook bought Instagram, and they removed the chronological order feed. And we saw a massive change when that disappeared, because suddenly it wasn't chronological, it was algorithmic. And the algorithms, it's really, we all know how algorithms work, right? They are, we have to get back with the origin of social medias, I think, to understand properly the problem. Have you ever seen the interview of Sam Vaknin? Did you see it in 2018? Sam Vaknin is this, he's a professor in psychology, and he did this magnificent interview that is very worth watching, and it's about 3 hours, on the toxicity of social media and how it is made by design to be what it has become. And the algorithms are very much based on this. What they want is your eyes, your eyeballs. They want everything of you so that you don't have any other time to spend anywhere else. The problem is with arts like tattooing, painting, music, arts in general, we need a lot of time for ourselves to create. So basically, in order to feed the algorithm, we can't spend time. So we can't create. So we have to reproduce over and over and over something that we know how to do really well. And it makes all the quality of stuff go down. So everything becomes mediocre. And I think a lot of artists nowadays are succumbing to the pressure of this, because the algorithm is constantly like, it's this beast that you have to constantly feed, that is so hungry and never gets satiated. It never gets full. So you constantly have to feed the machine in order to be seen. That's pretty much what it is. So from being a tattooer, a painter, a musician, we all had to become writers of skits, or filmers, editors, all those things that take so much time on their own. If you see content creators on YouTube, they usually, when they do really well, eventually to feed the machine, they have to have an editor. They can't edit on their own. They have to have managers, they have to have accountants, they have to have all those things. But us tattooers, because of the nature of what we do, which supposedly is underground, we ended up having to do everything on our own. Because one problem as well with tattooing, there's only so much money that you can make. So let's say, I'll take random numbers, but let's say you make £1,000 a day, which doesn't be much, but £1,000 a day. You can't do more unless you extend your day, and then you don't sleep, then you become depressed, or you take amphetamines, I don't know. But you can make £1,000 a day. And that £1,000, you have to take your taxes out of it. You have to take your materials for tattooing, your rent, your this, your that. And eventually, this money is not expendable. And if you have to do editing, content creation, and you have to do it yourself, because you're not going to be able to pay someone to do it unless you extend the money that you make. And that's why we see a rise in prices. I'm kind of digressing, but it's all interlinked.
No, I mean, I think it's related, all of it. Very much so related.
So the whole thing is like, we can't make the days longer. I wish we could, but we can't make the days longer, and we have 5 jobs instead of 1. 5 jobs instead of 1. And that's the big problem of algorithms. If we were back into the chronological, sorry, hiccups. If we were back into the chronological order of things, then people wouldn't have that pressure, because they know they would be seen. But nowadays, you open your feed and suddenly, like, you see people from like 4 or 5 days ago.
It's made into much more of a competition in that way nowadays. It's much more about rivalry almost than it is about just promoting yourself.
Yes,
it's about beating the others so that your video or your picture or your whatever is more popular, so it gets seen, rather than just being, you posted it then, so people might see it because they were online at that time, or they scroll through and then they see the stuff that's been posted by the different people that follow and all that stuff.
Yeah. And also the thing is, like, the algorithm likes mediocrity. The algorithm doesn't want something that is clever. The algorithm
is repetitive. Very repetitive, yeah.
Yes, it has to be repetitive. It has to be quickly understandable. It has to be simple. Like that type of stuff, that type of machine hates complexity, because everything that is complex is too difficult to digest, So that's why a lot of tattooers like me, I do a lot of very complex pieces, and my work on that tiny little screen. Oh, thank you very much. My work on the tiny little screen doesn't look great. It just doesn't. Like it. But what works with my work? Brushwork. Brushwork, simple. There's nothing. It's dumb. It's a dumb. Well, it's very technical work, but it's dumb. It's easy to understand.
Yes.
So if you look at my work online, the pieces of dot work realism with tiny fine patterns and geometry, they do nothing. But the big one single stroke, like I did on Grimes, that, oh my God, it blows up. People just go like, wow, because they're doom scrolling really fast. And suddenly it's like that big thing.
Well, I think more than simplicity, I think it's sadly about this fashion thing where, to use a sociological term, certain people become what can be called social entrepreneurs. So they sort of set the order of the day. They sort of become like, oh, so for example, this celebrity gets this style of tattoos done, so now that's what's popular. So anybody that does anything other than that gets fewer likes or fewer views and fewer all that stuff. And that part puts a lot of pressure on people as well to be like, well, you must have, like I have as well, seen artists that go at some point, well, I have to do some of these tattoos that are in fashion right now, because else they disappear, and then I can't do the tattoos I actually want to do on people that want to buy that. And it's sad because that's what it becomes sometimes. I feel with this competitive algorithm that it's like, oh, so now it's really in getting ignorant tattoos because a lot of celebrities get those ignorant tattoos. But it comes up because other artists I've talked to doing these first few 7-8 recordings I've done have brought them up as well, and they are everywhere at the moment. But it's a good example. Like, they're quite simple, they're easy to digest, and a lot of young celebrities love getting them. So that's what you see all the time. So anything that comes closer to that, I think you're right, does better. Anything that sort of gets more digestible and like, oh, that's easy to get. So like,
yes, I think it's kind of like two issues right there. I think the people who do ignorant tattoos, they can do something that is very quick to do and very easy to digest, and they can do a lot of it. So suddenly there's a lot of quantity, and so people get bombarded with that amount of tattoos. And because it's quick to do, it doesn't really require you to draw or prepare anything or put any real thought into it. Then you have much more time to be an editor, a skit maker, a influencer of sorts. With very complex tattoo work, first and foremost, usually I know a lot of people that are like me. We don't put works in progress. We just don't put them. So it looks like we're not working. So we don't really have much to post. I don't post a lot. And so because I don't post a lot, the algorithm forgets about me. But the thing is, I still work. I still work every week. I'm booked up until April. And I work. But I just don't show the works in progress because I don't want people to be like, oh my God, the fuck is this? Because
no, I agree. We see enough unfinished tattoos in the street sometimes.
Yes, it's enough. I just want people to see. And also, like, I'm not quite fond of showing my process until there's the last result.
I've not met many creative people that like showing how the sausage is made, as they say. Like, and I get that it's very vulnerable to show your art. It's even more vulnerable to show how you create it. So I understand that.
Even like most artists, I look at what I do once I'm done with it, and I'm like, ugh, I hate it. I'm like, I don't want to see it ever again. Burn it,
I'm sorry I laugh, but that's every tattoo artist I meet as well. That it's just but like I love that you love the tattoo, but I'm gonna move on.
Yes, it's like I don't want to see it ever again, and then I'm like, oh my God, I wish I did this better.
That's why you take foreign clients, so you don't have to see it again.
No, the problem is like I work with the same clients over and over. Like I have some clients that I have since 15 years, and I enjoy this. I mostly do bodysuits. And like right now, I'm part of those people who are actually disappearing because people don't want bodysuits anymore. But I think this has to do not with internet per se.
No,
a little bit. I think it has to do with the COVID crisis and the recession.
Funny enough, I actually last week I interviewed a good friend of mine and a great tattooer as well, a woman called Alicia or Sia Tattoo. And he was talking about the same thing because she does big pieces as well, often full legs or full arms, and She does these amazing gothic, dark, new traditional pieces. But she as well feels that she gets less clients because more people want smaller, cheaper tattoos, and this ignorant craze is also part of that, where people want these tiny tattoos done quick, done cheap, and then they don't want to think about it really, because they feel like they're scared sometimes as well to commit to the bigger pieces. Like, for example, I love that when I get a piece, it's often bigger, and I might not always get a really large piece. Like, for example, there are some spots that just need filling.
Yes, I know. I have some too.
But they still require more commitment because they are more artistic. They are more designed uniquely for what me and the artists figure out and all that. Whereas with ignorant pieces, even if they're unique, they sort of become ununique because there's a sort of lack of space to be creative almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of funny because you feel like when you see one, even if you see them next to each other, they're two different tattoos. You still feel like you've seen them all when you see some of them, like.
Oh, you've seen them all. They're all the same. Yeah. They're all the same.
I think you're right. But I don't think you can divorce that from the internet thing, because I think it's very much part of that they became so popular.
Yes, of course.
It's the same thing with how we see a lot of youngsters now just getting the hands, the neck, and the face tattoos, and then they get annoyed that people like you and me go out and say, don't do that. And then they're like, but what, are you against having visible tattoos? Where it would be ridiculous to say to someone like you, but even I have a bit of my neck done. And we're very much not against that. We just think, there's a build up to going that far,
Yes. So for me, I see the people with just like hands, neck, and face. And I kind of laugh internally, because I saw the entire evolution, and I'm like, wow, you remove your shirt and you have like this blank t-shirt of nothingness,
I mean, I don't fully agree with the term catfishing, but I do sort of understand it, because I especially love the TikToks going around of women that are like, well, I get this guy home and then, I feel like, oh, what kind of amazing bodysuit is waiting under this long sleeve shirt, and then
nothing. A blankness.
Well, no. I laugh at that because I've had the opposite happen to me once, where I wore a long sleeve shirt and a woman took it off. She was like, "Whoa, I didn't know you had that many."
To be honest, I think the person who started the trend of shitty tiny tattoos was with Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne kind of like opened a can of worms. Yeah. I mean,
Lil Wayne was like, I get it in a way, because like he filled up his body and then he just started getting these small shitty tattoos. I mean, I haven't seen much of. I haven't ever studied his bodysuit, so I don't know the quality of all of it.
Oh, he's covered in crap.
Too great. Yeah,
he's covered in crap.
I was gonna let you say that.
No, that's the thing. Like we had like Lil Wayne, who was like covered in crap, and then like all the SoundCloud rappers started to do like Lil Wayne tattoos, I think it's because, especially facial and stuff,
But I think it was also because of an interview Travis Barker did once, where he talked about, I got my neck and my hands done, so I couldn't get a real job, and then they were like, yeah, that's fucking hardcore, that's gangster, I'm gonna do that. But even he's been out saying, well, I was already doing fairly well when I did that. Like,
yes, but that's the thing.
He was already part of Blink-182 when he got his hands and neck done, and they were already playing, fucking big shows and that. Like, completely.
But that's the thing. Like, that's the reason that those are called job stoppers. Like,
because the stigma is not fully gone yet. I know.
Yeah.
I know just as many academics that have necks and hand tattoos that'll tell you the same thing, that the thing is, even though they can do their professorships and all that stuff, they've worked up to it and then gotten them. Because they know if they'd gotten them when they were doing their undergrads and stuff like that, they may never have gotten to that place, because there's still a stigma. There's still prejudice towards that stuff.
But one of the problems of the opening of the industry to whoever was that a lot of the rules of the industry were broken, and that I think that's one of the main issue. And of course, this went through social media, but I don't think social media is actually the real cause of the door opening of the industry. I think it was more like the TV shows. The TV shows like Miami Ink, LA Ink. It was the fact that it was televised, because suddenly people had an open window onto this underground, very secretive and hermetic society that tattooing was. Back in the days, I remember when I started 18 years ago, tattooing was reserved to gangsters, motorcycle clubs, people that were genuinely not friendly. You know what I mean? Like, I got into it because I was well into, I'm gonna be very honest, I was well into drugs and partying, and I was working in the sex industry at the time, not as a prostitute, as a dominatrix. And I was really searching myself, and of course I ended up interweaving with those people because that was the thing. And we were all fucked up. We were all fucked up. Okay. And tattooing initially is this weird shamanic ritual. Like, it's a rite of passage. To me, it's not an aesthetic thing at all. Like, come on, we look like shit. Like, let's be honest about it. We look like dumb idiots. But it was a rite of passage, war paint, like you wanted to be tough. And then there was this entire thing of like, you'd cross regular non-tattooed people in the street and they'd change sidewalk, or they'd look down, and then you'd cross another tattooed person in the street and you'd nod at each other and be like, yeah, like, I know what you are, I know what you've been through. There was this entire thing. Then TV arrived, and TV showed that actually tattooing wasn't that crazy. You had Amy James doing his things, and Kat, and like whoever was on TV, and then shows became more and more ridiculous. They became more and more ridiculous. They made tattooing less sacred, less scary. You have to not forget.
I don't mind it being less scary as such. I might be a bit biased there, but I do get what you mean though with how some of the shows got more ridiculous. I do want to say completely, and this is me being a nerd about the data and the historical data and that we've had middle class people getting tattooed since the 20s,
yes, of course.
and other people. So it's always been for everyone. But one point I do get about what you're saying about opening up the industry too much. It's more the whole thing. Like, I think Vice, for example, was part of this, that they sort of almost glorified, people that do home tattooing and shit like that, or do prison style tattooing and that. Where I was like, why not then talk about the professionals, like the people that actually fought to create an industry, even though people didn't want to have the industry around. That I think is way more cool, and that's the part I get why you fight for, because there's not been too much organization. There's been more on our side in Europe and that, because we're not too as scared of unions as they are, for example, in the States. But there still was originally, when the industry sort of solidified in the 20th century, a lack of organization that came from the industry itself, building up these standards and all that. And that's what's being taken the piss out of, because I don't mind that there are more queer shops, more female shops, or more colored people getting into it, or anything like that. I mind the fact that there's way too many people that don't really pay a homage to the craftsmanship, to how much you need to do to set up a shop, to how much you need to do to make it run, to how much you need to do to make it safe for your clients, or to make it sanitary, all that stuff.
Yes, definitely. For me, I've started with like Hells Angels, so I'm coming from like the true origin of things, To me, the fact that now there's like safe zones or safe space or whatever is an aberration, because a tattoo shop should be safe, whatever it is. Like, I remember back in the days, like shops where you'd have like a racist Nazi next to a leather mustache gay man, leather mustache dudes, like, I miss them. And you'd have like some like colored person next to them, being like, everybody in the same room doing the same thing, and everybody would be like talking about politics and talking about sex and talking about drugs and talking about the most taboo things on the planet. They talk about their traumas, and they're all like the conversation was really open. There was no subject that would be out of reach. There was no taboo whatsoever. And it was this zone where everybody didn't matter what you shove into your body, like in your nose. It didn't matter. You were in a tattoo shop, and that's how it was. You were there for the same thing. You were there because you've been through some shit. And that's why like middle class guys and like doctors and upper class people would get tattoos as well. They've seen some stuff. You didn't come to get tattooed just to look like an idiot. You come to get tattooed to reappropriate your body, to like reclaim your body and your mind and control and trust in another being. Of course, back in the days, it was a bit rougher. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but that's the thing. It's an industry that attracts the mentally ill. Like it's not an industry that is made for people who have everything okay in their life. If people think that this is what it is, they are completely misguided. The tattoo industry, like who is sane of mind to go pay someone to hurt them and mock them forever? Like nobody. That's like crazy. And as a tattooer, are you okay? You're an empathetic person hurting people for a living? Are you okay? That's why like most tattooers like we used to be doing drugs, having shit relationships, being into alcohol, partying. Like we were more rock and roll than the stars that we used to tattoo. You know what I mean? Like, and it is a crazy industry, like it's that's what I love about tattooing. What I love about tattooing is the ritual of tattooing. And that's why I'm like, a lot of people who are entering right now because they know nothing about our ancestry, our origins, our elders. They don't know shit about anything and they don't care about it. So they're missing out on the fact of learning that thing. Even like the muscly guy that you're gonna find in Manchester who's doing like trads, he knows about this. He might not go into the full like EPDP thing like I do, which is like, talk to me about your traumas. But he knows. His clients who are coming to him come for that. Like they want to feel manly, they want to be a man. And like I tattoo mostly women, and nerds. Like I have all the nerds and all the women. And I love it. And I have those people who eventually at some point they're gonna cry, and they're not crying of pain, they're crying of release. So the entire opening of the industry just let some people who know nothing about anything in. Like how many graphics, like graphic designers?
Oh, right. So that I got it now.
Yeah, I went to be French there. How many graphic designers come in and be like, oh yeah, I'm really good at designing. I'm gonna get into tattooing because there's a lot of money. Guys, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. And also, you shouldn't make like $1,000 a day when you've been tattooing for 2 years. It's an aberration, You don't have the skills, you don't have the experience, So you have all those graphic designers coming in with I'm gonna take an example that struck me lately and that really upset me so much. It was a graphic designer, and that chick was from upper middle class. She had seen nothing in her life, and she was like, oh yeah, I want to be a bit. She was going through a rebellious phase in her early 20s, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna get into tattooing. And then she got a customer that properly fully trauma dumped on her, and she was just like, oh my god, what's happening? I'm like, what you expect? What did you expect?
I mean, even if we you and I wouldn't fully agree on all this, I do agree on that thing that there are sadly an influx of people that don't see the lifestyle of being in the industry and just see it as a gig, for lack of a better term. which that I do get.
Yeah.
Is absolutely upsetting, because for a lot of people, even the people that got into it in the new 2000s and start of the 10s maybe, who got into it through apprenticeships and all that stuff, and some of the older ways, they get the lifestyle aspect. They get that no matter what style you did, or if you did newer stuff or got into the new version of the industry that came out, which was I found was great in the new 2000s, it was still the lifestyle. Like you don't do tattooing because then you feel like that's just halfway to something else, or that's just a stepping stone to what else you want to do in your career. Of course, some people change gears later after tattooing, and sometimes ruins your body, or you feel like you want to step back and do shop promotion or do something else, but it's still a lifestyle being in the industry, and many people still remain connected to it or within the tattoo industry. So do get that, seeing some middle class art designer go in and feel like that's just the Instagram gig right now, to sit there and pedal. No matter if they're good at it or not, it can rub you quite the wrong way to see them just do it for a couple of years, and then, that was just their little rebellious face. Because it's not a rebellious face. Well, you almost think of that. Funny enough, with the topic today, you almost think of that meme with the emo music that people put out there.
It's exactly what it is. It's just a phase.
It's not a phase for people like, well, even though I'm not an artist myself, it's not a phase for me either. I didn't do any of my tattoos because it was fashionable. I did it because I like fucking being tattooed,
Yes, it's not about the tattoo that you get. It's about the act of getting tattooed, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least way more so than people think.
Yes.
I mean, my tattoos, I'm one of those nerds that a lot of them have stories tied to them and all that stuff. Some are more for the art, some are more for the story, but they're all done by people where I really admire the art, and I like having that on my body. That there's the experience of being tattooed as well that I really love. Where I get that with some of these new artists, they don't get that sometimes. That they don't get the impact, and they also sometimes, well, older artists as well. I spoke with Robbie Ripple about that, and he's been in the tattooing for 30 years. And he was sort of fed up with people in his generation sometimes being scared of how much it means to people they tattoo as well. Like that they're sometimes, they don't get, why does it have to have meaning? Or why are you feeling so emotional about this? But it's like, even if it doesn't have a story behind it, it can still be really impactful for that person to change their appearance like that, and to take that leap, especially if it's a big tattoo. Like if it's not just some shit little piece like we talked about, or ignorant style tattoo.
That's what I love about tattooing. That's what I love about tattooing.
It is impactful.
Yeah. I don't care about the tattoo itself. I have zero care in the world about the tattoo. None. I don't give shit at all. Like I like the hours and hours that I'm gonna spend with the customer, and how they're gonna open up, and how we're gonna untangle a lot of issues that they have, and we can compare situation, I went through a lot in my life myself, and I went through a lot of therapy, and eventually I was like, one day it was like a aha moment, kind of. I was like, the universe gave me all that crap so that I can help others with it, and I really embraced that part, of tattooing. I was like, oh my God, this is why my life is so crazy, man. Just to help others, And but though, whenever I see someone, even with the smallest tiny tattoo that can seemingly look like shit, I always question myself, and I'm like, what did you go through so that you jump off the cliff and ask someone to carve it in your body? So I might take the piss and be like, hey, this is so shit.
You definitely lived in Britain like I have when you say take the piss.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm covered in crap tattoos, okay? I've got a whole leg of crap done drunk with my mates. But whenever I see people with like the tiniest thing, I'm just like, I'd like to know what made you go over the cliff. What's inside you that made you do this, And so I respect every type of tattoos. And I do think, to be honest, I'm gonna be very honest with you, I do think that this wave of ignorant tattoos, those crap tattoos, might make people like me out of work for a little bit, but in about 5 years, I'm very good at covering up.
I mean,
So
here's the
I
thing.
think in about
Like you,
5 years.
like you said, I respect all types of tattoos. I
Yes.
really like them. I also get the small wrist tattoos people get, because some people have always gotten the small tattoos, and some people don't need more than a little tattoo in their life. Some people want the whole body covered. I respect that. The thing I don't like about the ignorant style tattoo is that it sort of came with this social media fashion mindset where people just get them.
Yes.
Some of them don't even seem to want to be tattooed. They just get these tattoos.
Oh
And
yeah,
and that's why I think some of them are definitely going to go get them covered up. Others are absolutely going under the laser in a couple of years' time
yes.
because they just get them. And some of them, because as we know from them, and I will happily explain to anyone with ignorant tattoos why they don't hurt, it's because you only spend 10 minutes getting it done. But
Exactly.
I think that's also part of it, because when you get a tattoo and it didn't hurt, you almost yourself want to be like, well, let's go for another. Let's just keep going, And I
But
think that's part of it, because you don't pay that pain toll, as some people call it. Like you don't pay the pain tax in a way.
yes, and to this, I've got to add, I have I just came back from the US, and I had this young boy who's covered in ignorant tattoos and cyber sigilism.
Oh yeah, that's the I was looking. Oh, where were you the other week? I
Yes.
was looking for that term when I was talking to one of my other guests on here, and I couldn't remember the term for it, but we got through it anyway.
Cyber is basically badly done 90s tribal. And it's difficult to badly do 90s tribal.
That's a difference in opinion.
Yes. No, but it's already bad. How
I
can it
get
be
what you mean,
worse?
though.
You know what I mean?
It is what if Castlevania did tribal? Like that
Yes.
is
Exactly. So that's the thing. He was covered in this, and he was used to have those experiences of whatever. And then he got a 2 day in a row with me. And then
that's jumping in the deep end as well.
yes. And then it was very emotional, and he ended up in a shop where basically like he talked about a whole bunch of stuff. It's a kid that he's lovely. I really adore him. He's adorable. But he's very into transhumanism and into like all that type of stuff. And I'm not talking about transgenderism, transhumanism.
No,
robots.
No.
And he ended up in a room full of old school tattooers, kind of. About that, my friend Natalie, she's way more gentle with people. But he ended up with me and Jay, who are very, we don't chew our tongue, we don't have wooden tongues at all. And the customer of Jay was an older guy as well, and we debunked everything for him. And so yeah, he had the proper experience of a real tattoo, and we had a bit of tears, and we had a very emotional time, and he talked a lot about his childhood and stuff, and he was just like, I just don't understand what just happened to me. And I'm like, welcome in tattooing, my darling. Welcome in tattooing. And we're doing
transcending.
More. Yeah, and he's booked for more next year. Because he was like, I don't know if I can go back to the others.
You shouldn't.
And that's the thing. I was like, I can cover everything that you have. It's all good, but but
you sneaky devil.
but you give them the real experience. Like that's
no, I agree.
People...
I think it sort of shows the culture that was coming up in our generation as well. That when I was 18 and got my first one done, later on, because it started with half my chest, it might have been a shitty tribal like one, but it still started with half the chest,
I still love
so many guys were like, hey, that's so cool, you started the old school way, like you're really like, and I didn't even know that. I just wanted to start the way that made most sense to me. But it sort of already showed some of the culture that was sort of starting out, where people were way more about it needs to be visible, the first one, rather than being like, I need to try out being tattooed first and see if I like that. Because that was my idea. I was like, hey, you can see it if I take my shirt off, but I really want to go all in. So I can't start small. And I want to get, try out being tattooed, and then we'll see. If I really fucking love it, we're gonna go full, like, you know.
I got like stars because it was what, like 2003, 2004.
Yeah, that sounds very
And
2003,
yes,
2004.
and I got stars from like here to my thigh,
Oh
like
wow.
loads of stars. Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
went full on. And the second one was this really big, like gun with knuckle duster on like my chest.
That's more
It,
funny, to be honest.
oh my God. Now looking back at pictures of myself at this age, I'm like, oh my fucking
I mean,
days. Oh my
I'm at
God,
least
why did I do
fortunate I
this?
haven't regretted any of mine, and like I've been such a nerd. I've thought about them too much, but I did blast over some. Like
Yeah,
that's
but
just really,
mine are blast over and covered, but
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
fine. It's part of the story. And I'm the same as
Absolutely.
you. I'm the same as you. I was like, oh, how does it feel? And none of it was visible. And the day I had one visible, oh my God, I felt so gangster. I was just like walking the street and I was like, I went from this little nerdy girl, to like holding myself straight and be like, whoa, what do you want?
Oh, I
I
didn't
was,
do that. I was very much still a nerd. I just had to do it.
I'm still a nerd. Don't say to anyone.
No, no, no. I absolutely get that. I just, with me, visibly as well, there was nothing not nerdy about me.
Oh, yes. Okay, fair, fair, fair. No, for me, I was just hiding. I've been
I
hiding for
started like the
years.
beard didn't come in till I was in my late 20s, and
Oh, that's so
and the
cute.
I didn't start working out till I was 22, and because have a high metabolism, I didn't put on any muscle for 6 years. So
Oh
I
no,
was
you were
I
one of
was
those
very much
back
a very
again.
skinny nerdy guy in my nerdy shirts and all that way, and I still wear nerdy shirts. I'm still a nerdy guy, even visibly. I just also have muscle now.
Today you see, I'm in pajama right now.
Yeah,
I solely wear band merch. So I
nice.
still dress like a 14-year-old metalhead. Black
Oh,
leggings, band merch. That's all. Black metal merch.
I mainly wear tattoo merch and stuff from video games and comic books.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Initially, like tattoo was for that. It was for like weirdos and nerds,
Passion.
like
I think that if I had to sum it up, it's for passionate people.
yes, yes,
People
yes,
that are so into something that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna put it in my skin as well.
yes, as well, as well, as well.
I
I
mean,
think
also
so.
that, yeah, yeah.
For
But
me,
it
it
does
was
require
more
passion. Even if you don't do that, it still requires a passion for tattoos
yes.
to cover yourself.
Yeah, for me it was uh in my personal process, it was more like a self-harming process.
Okay.
It was I needed to control the pain.
Mm.
So by marking myself, I would have a reminder, oh, whatever pain is ever inflicted on me, because I'm a woman, obviously, so we go through stuff that men might
Haven't
not go
noticed.
through.
Oh.
And and I was like, yeah, every time I get something heavy and heavier and heavier,
Mm.
then I was like, oh, if I survive this, I can survive anything in life. And that's
Mm.
why I turned towards like heavy black eventually. I
Yeah.
was supposed to get my torso redone this week, and but eventually I was an
Oh,
idiot.
I'm okay
Didn't.
if I never get my chest done again, to be honest.
Oh no, no, I want it done again. I need to have it done again, and I'm
I've
I'm
been
an
on
idiot.
that area 3 times already, Delphine, and it hurts fucking. So every time I get my chest done, I'm just like, you know what? This is why we didn't do it again for a long time.
I'm going again for third layer as well. So
Well,
yeah, third
I'm not
layer.
a hardcore shoe. It's not a layer. It's just, additions for me. It's not a whole layer.
Yeah, third layer. Like I'm
Oh,
like
layer. Oh, man. That's
the
the
full
really
black
hardcore
again.
people today. The layers. Like you see Remy from Canada or Yalsi from Puerto Rico, I think. And they're like, oh, I'm doing another layer on this bodysuit. And I'm like, dude, I don't even have a full bodysuit yet. And you're just talking layers here, man.
Yeah, I'm at layers. I only have like half a leg left that I'm keeping for Kate Selke. And basically, I want to get that leg done by Kate Selke. And we're friends. And she absolutely refuses to tattoo me for now because she's a very anxious person. And she just avoids me. So I'm like, come on, I have to go for layers and layers and layers. But
Well,
yeah,
at
you
least
see,
that.
to come back to social media, yeah, like it was very positive for a few things for a while. And then now it's just gone.
But I think it may come back because I mean you've been the most vocal one, but I do see these voices popping up in different camps of the tattoo world about, hey, can it not just be about showing the art again? Because we do already have tattoo collectors who will do all the influencing shit, and that, I get that happens, but that could sort of be enough, you know. These alliances you form anyways, you know.
But that's the thing. We need to remind people, sorry I cut you, but we need to remind people that social media is not real. You see on that video, for example, I don't know how many comments I have, maybe about like 4,000 or something like this.
Enough that even when I commented on it and I was among the first like hundreds or 200, I thought she's not going to see this, but you did. That was good.
Oh, sorry, my dog is being an idiot. So yes, I try to read them all, and that's why, because I'm yes, it's the first thing I do in the morning.
Oh, that sounds like a bad way to start the morning, doesn't it?
No, like this, I get it out of the way. And also, like, I've put filters. So, like, there are a lot of words that are filtered. So, a lot of comments don't appear anymore, thanks to Instagram for that. That's one good thing that they've done.
Yeah. You can filter off some of the idiots at least.
Yes. But I still get some people who are like proper trolls.
Yeah.
And basically, where was I going with it? I lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
ADHD. Oh no, yes. I'd say for 100 comments, I think I get only 2 that are negative.
Yeah.
So I get 2 negative comments, and it's pretty sweet. Because I was surprised that so many people would resonate with it, you know, and most of the people who are being critical and saying crap are actually not even neither tattooing nor doing anything. And then there is usually the thing of like the comment that comes back the most is, but you have 90,000 followers.
I saw that was one of the ones I noticed as well, and it was from a guy who helps. I think the one I saw was from a guy who helps tattoo artists market themselves. So, you know, he's quite biased in wanting tattoo artists to want to do this on social media because that's how his business works, that he needs to buy into these things. And I get that from his side of view, but then he should, you know, reflect on, okay, where am I coming from when I'm saying this?
Yes, totally. And the thing is, like, one thing that people don't realize is social media is creating this smoke and mirrors thing where the numbers that you have online do not translate to reality. So I made a second little video, which did quite well as well, on social media math. You know, and I have a whole bunch of other videos I'm gonna do, but it's just I'm like, I'm not an influencer, you know. I just say what
it's the irony of it that you have something important to say and you're getting traction with it, but then you have to become what you hate almost to say it in Star Wars terms.
Yes, and also people are like, you see, you're an influencer. No. Your video was so disingenuous. It's so hypocritical.
But that's absolutely sadly how things are. Like, I'm not a social media person either, but I realize if I want to have a podcast that's going to work well and get these important messages across, I have to meet people where they are and jump into this arena.
Exactly.
Like if I could, I would do radio instead. If radio was still a thing.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, absolutely, but it's not. There's no way. There's no way. Some of the dying radio stations right now would bet their remaining finances on a tattoo show.
Yeah, but that's the thing nowadays. Like, I think medias are changing so much. I'm trying to get people to go more on my website, which slowly it's building up, but on the website it's more varied, you know, like you have all my shit, my art, my blogs. Also, like, the thing is, I'm working on like on something completely different. I'm doing a big renovation, and I've been filming for the past 3 years the renovation. And so we're going to put a lot of videos out on YouTube, and eventually, yes, I like video editing. I love it. I actually love it because initially I went to school for that. I did video editing in school, you know, so before I went to university for art history. But yeah, with tattooing, I didn't sign up to be an editor, you know? And like some people told me, they were like, oh yeah, but you have that renovation account where you do a lot of like editing, and you have this TikTok where you do a lot of like edited nature video. I'm like, yes, nature content, because I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, and you're allowed to
But
have
not with the
hobbies.
tattooing. The tattooing, I want to come to the shop, sit my ass down, do my thing, do my ritual thing, tattoo, take a shitty picture because I'm not a photographer, put that online, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Tattooing. I don't want to do anything around it. I don't even
That's what I recognize as well from your video, that I think that's what you hit home with. I want to resonate with the artists, that no matter what you do in your hobbies or your spare time, whether you actually like video editing or not, most people didn't think, oh, I'm going to become a tattooer because then I get to be an influencer as well.
No.
Not even the people that start out as influencers, which we already had a good rant about. I think that like,
the new generation knows. The new generation, they're doing fine.
Oh, they know, they're used to it. But even I think even they resonate with it, because I don't think I think they just recognize that it's part of it, but I don't think they do it because I don't think that's what attracts them to it. I think what attracts them to it is what they learned from your generation and generation before about the freedom, the escaping the 9 to 5 to some extent, the artistry, the bonding with people, all that stuff, you know.
But now it's not even 9 to 5, it's even worse. But we could debate. Back in the day, back in the days, I used to do like 12 to 14 hours a day. And I worked 10 years in a row, 7 days a week for 10 years, you know. And now I was talking with someone actually this morning who was like, oh, asking me for advice, And I was and that person was like, just starting tattooing. And be like, oh yeah, you know, like I can only do like 4 or 5 days a week. I'm like, excuse me, what? Excuse me, what? my apprentice, Elliot, like I had 7 apprentices, only one has become a tattooer. And Elliot, I'm super proud of him. He slaved away for 3 years for me. And I'm very honest. I'm as a mentor, I'm the worst. I'm a dictator. Like I'm a real dictator. The toilets are not clean, you're gonna clean them again. And if you don't clean them again a second time, Elliot, I made him clean the toilets with bicarbonate soda, lemons, and a toothbrush. I can tell you, the toilets were spotless after that. He never, ever, ever left the shop toilets disgusting. And he was so brilliant, you know, and 7 days a week. I was expecting him to be at the shop 7 days a week. That's it. First year, he wasn't paid. And then slowly, he was allowed to tattoo and take some money and da. He wasn't allowed to do face, necks, and hands for a while, you know, and then he worked 2 more years for me after. And when I decided to move out of London, I left him the shop. I closed the shop. But I left him the physical venue, a whole bunch of stuff, and I sold him all the stuff that was mine. I gave him basically a shop key in hand, you know. He just had to redo the decor because I took all the artwork that was in the shop. But this is the real way. You know, this was the real way. You slave away, and I taught him so many good things. And I know that he probably has some things where I was a bit too much, but I know that on the most he's very grateful because I taught him some very valuable lessons. I taught him about assiduity, punctuality, that when you tattoo, that's all that you do for a while. You can only rest after like minimum a decade. Like for the first time I had a baby, right? And I tattooed until 10 days before giving birth. And I looked like a whale, you know, and I didn't want it to stop. And then I went back to work just a few weeks after giving birth because I just couldn't stay at home. I just don't know how to do this. And at times I would have my baby on my back and my partner would bring the baby and I would breastfeed her every hour, you know, take my 10-minute break, breastfeed. And then give the baby back, and go back to tattoo, you know? And now when I hear people being so like soft about everything, like going to a shop, oh my God, I just went to the US, right? And now you have to be extremely careful of what you say. You have to be constantly super careful about anything. No, but that's the thing. One of my biggest pleasure in life back in the days was you would come and you'd be a right winger, I'd play the left winger. You'd come and be a left winger, I'd play the right winger. You know, I like a debate. I like a good conversation. Nowadays, you can't do that anymore. You see so many shops where people, they just have headphones on. The customer has headphones and the tattoo has headphones. Like, what? Like, social media make us so asocial. Like, social media is the most antisocial thing that exists. Like, it's not putting people together. It's like creating those pockets, of people. Like, they don't want to hear the opposite anymore. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want debate. They just want everybody to comply. I'm sorry, darling. I'm your tattooer. I'm not a prostitute. You're not paying me for me to suck your dick. That doesn't work that way,
Yes.
So I'm very potty mouthed.
No, that's okay. No, that I do not mind.
I'm very old school, that's the thing.
Swearing and being potty mouthed, I'm very good with. I'm just didn't know what to say.
On this level, I'm really not. I'm not PC at all. At all. I almost had a bunch of issues for a while. Like I got canceled a few times, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't care because cancel means nothing. And now people are so scared of being canceled, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to be canceled. I'm like, no, canceling doesn't mean anything. It does not exist. It does not exist. And people, because of the social media, they think social media is reality. That's not the case. It can have an impact in reality, but if you take the actual real reality road, like when people do defamation online, and they're like, oh my God, like this guy is a rapist when the guy has done nothing. This is like a simple case, happened to a friend of mine. This guy hasn't raped anyone. And we all know the story and who it came from, da-di-da-di-da, and online people are going to go, why is a rapist, da-da-da-da-da. And there's a little pocket of people who will cancel you, but the bulk of your customers not going to leave you. They're not. They're not. And then what you can do is go to court and be like, I raped you? Okay. Let's see. Did I? I'm taking a bit of an extreme case because this is happening a lot now. And I think social media now is really fucking so many things up. Like people think that because you got 90,000 followers, you're fully booked. No, I'm not that fully booked. Yes, I'm booked till April because I work 2-3 days a week. 2-3 days a week. So it's very easy to be booked that long, especially because I do very big projects and my customers come from very far away. They come from abroad, so they usually do 2 or 3 days in a row. So actually per month, I don't think I tattoo more than 4 people.
No, that's exactly it. But
people
I do think that's
this.
a good point to end on, the whole thing with the numbers and followers, because you see legends in the industry. Who some of the most incredible artists that have like at most 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and then you see people. I don't care to name names because I don't want to do so spike, but you do see very Instagram famous artists that also tattoo celebrities and stuff like that don't tattoo very well.
Yet
they get a lot of followers.
I'm just looking at Philippe Le. How much? Philippe Le has 26K. Philippe Le has 26K, and it's Philippe Le.
You would imagine more when it's Philippe Le, because
it's Philippe Le. Probably those 26K are like just a bunch of collectors and tattooers.
Probably. Honestly, like
he also has
probably just a hardcore tattoo nerds, to be honest. That's about it. That follow him because
He only has 2 pictures though.
Well, I don't
Yes.
imagine Philip does too much on social media.
No, but that's the crazy thing,
Yeah,
Like it's crazy when you
yeah,
think about it,
but I
you
mean,
know?
even a legend from Denmark like Henning from Royal Tattoo, he doesn't have as much as many other of those Instagram famous ones, but he's one of the best in the world at doing Japanese style outside of Japan.
Yes, but look at Tintin. Tintin
Yeah,
only has
yeah,
60.
Tantan, yeah, absolutely. He
He
doesn't
only
have
has
that many.
66,000 followers. I've got more than him,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And
it's wild,
Tintin,
you know.
it's wild.
Mm.
Like, let's see, Guy Atkinson. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay,
Well,
170,000.
Guy does a lot more with social media and
Yes,
podcasting and stuff like that today.
but that's the thing, that means nothing at all. That like this it's a dumb language. Like Instagram and like the social media numbers, it's a fucking dumb language. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's so
It
frustrating.
at least doesn't equate to skill with creative stuff. I get
No,
that. Or anything
oh
like that.
no.
Like I get with somebody that podcasts like me that you sort of need that popularity because it might be views or listens to a podcast episode. But for somebody doing something creative or craftsmanship, having a lot of followers doesn't necessarily mean skill. That depends on how you got the followers.
Yes.
And I think that's a very good lesson to round off of, because that's the thing, as you say yourself, we have legends in the field that don't do as well as some people that are just starting out on social media.
But yeah,
And that's because of how they know how to use social media rather than perhaps than how they know how to use the tattoo machine
yeah,
in a lot of
I've
these
had this
cases.
conversation. Basically, the real that I did was because I had multiple conversation over the past few months with friends of mine who are like old tattooers and legends. And they were like, oh, I'm looking into a new career because like I don't work anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't work? What do you mean you don't work? Excuse me? And they're like, yeah, I don't get any visibility anymore. And I'm like, but that's because you don't know how to promote yourself. They're like, yeah, but I don't want to. And a
I
lot of
get
them
that.
were like, I don't want to. It's my time to finish. They're like, it's my time. It's over. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's over. I think it's just a shitty wave to go through. I do truly believe that the COVID has done a lot of damage to people, like the whole lockdown stuff. And people started living online and
Yeah, because
forgetting about what
they
reality
sadly
is.
forgot because there was no other option. They were forced into the homes, and then I think a lot of people didn't leave the online
Yeah,
after returning.
yeah. A lot of people didn't leave the online. And it's kind of like Ready Player One type of thing, And yeah, it is. It is. But I've got to say, I can see um it's like what Sam Vaknin says about the epidemiology, social media is like a virus. And currently, I think we are entering a phase of self-limitation
Yeah, I
where,
think so.
yes, because there are podcasts like this. There are a lot of documentaries or reels like mine with people who are like fed up of it and like, hey, let's get back into reality. Let's get back into reality. Guys, this is not real life. I do have hope for the future. And I do think that right now the industry was oversaturated and somehow there's like a natural organic thing happening to it where a lot of the people who are there just for the money dried out for them, so they left. I see a lot of those graphic designers who have left in the past year. Also a bunch of older guys who finally are retiring and leaving the space for younger bloods. And yeah, I think there will always be customers for everybody.
I think
There
so
will
as well.
always be customers. Yes, because customers, they don't come for tattoo, they come for tattooers. Like whatever you're conveying through your art that touches something deep inside the person will resonate with the person and they will find you somehow. The universe is well done, and we just have to keep faith that everything's going to be okay. and I do truly think everything is going to be okay. What I said in that video, I truly, genuinely think it in my core. And if we lose passion, then obviously nobody's going to come to us because they can feel we've lost passion,
Mm.
And I was losing passion at some point. I'm currently going through like a few career change, but I don't want tattoo to be my main source of income anymore. I want tattoo just because I love tattooing. I don't want a tattoo just for the money, anymore. So I think for me that's what happened, and people find me. They do,
I think that's a beautiful note to finish off on. Like
Now
it sort of works out, I think
it
that's very
does.
nice.
It does. Like if you want
Well,
to be based in reality, you'll be fine. We'll be fine.
but Delphine, before we start another podcast, I want to finish off now by saying where can please plug yourself and what you have going on right now, and where people can find you and look for you and all that stuff.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. Delphine Noiztoy on Instagram. And otherwise, there's my website, Burial Grounds, which is with V's instead of U's because we're cult.
I will absolutely ask you for that website before I publish this. Don't worry.
Yes.
I can put
So
it all up.
burialground.com. And yes, I am working on some big renovation projects, and eventually I'm making a super, super cool thing that involves musicians and a recording studio.
Ooh.
So yes, there's going to be all the links on my website for all the videos of that renovation and how we're building this project. And I'm also doing falconry. So I'm becoming a professional.
Wow.
So yes, I paint. So I do a lot of things. I have ADHD, so I need to be busy. Otherwise, I'm going to die. So yes, everything can be found on Burial Grounds. So there's a big blog as well. And yes, otherwise, I always reply to all the messages that are sent to me as much as I can. So
I mean, she applied to me, and I'm a relative nobody at the time of recording, so I can stand by that message.
but I love helping others. If I can
Thank you very
help you,
much.
it's how life works, isn't it? Like we should support each other. So I try
Absolutely.
my best at this.
And thank you so much for helping and being on here. And thank you to anybody listening in, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for the potty mouth.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for enjoying this episode as well with the awesome Delphine Noiztoy. Incredibly important topic that she went viral with herself about this impact social media has on the industry of tattooing, which stretches far and wide, and it has come up in other episodes. It'll probably come up, sneak its way into episodes that are yet to come, as it is quite all-encompassing, the social media effect on this industry. Not all bad, not all good, but it's definitely something to be aware of and critical of, like in this episode. Next time, we're going to be talking to Becky Owens, a professor in psychology at the University of Sunderland, and how it has been for her being heavily tattooed and working in academia and being in a in a fast-paced career within academia and being taken seriously as a scientist while tattooed. And it may be surprising how how that's worked out for her. But you'll have to wait and see for next time, and I look forward to you enjoying that episode as well.